Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So today we are having Praveen with us, and today is the third podcast of our series Open Source. So let us go ahead with the conversation about more into open source. So one question which always comes to my mind, and even a lot of students ask me as well, and today I am going to ask that to Praveen. So that question is like, why there is so much hype about open source? Like, why everyone is so much into open source, and even you are also there into open source, and you also always say that come into open source. So, what is the main point for all these things? I'm just curious. I want to know this.
Are you
So that,
curious or are you taking me a revenge? So I just posted what is the hype about DSA and now you're asking what is the hype about open source. Nice one.
yeah,
But what? I mean, you will be able to learn everything from that, right? You can even make open source into your career itself. So why should not be there a hype? Whereas DSA cannot do that, right? So DSA, you cannot, if you are going into DSA, you cannot have a career outside SDE roles, but open source you can have everywhere, correct? So that's one of the main things that I would say. That's the reason.
no, but those who are SDE, they can also switch their jobs. Like, how they get into SD, it's all because of the problem solving skill which they used to develop. And when they get into that SD role, then with the flow and with all the senior members which are there and by their learning, they're able to get that how they are required to do the development part. I
They
know
have only
development.
one. They will have only one narrow path for that. If they are into SDE roles, they can only do SDE roles. They cannot come into creative roles. But we people, we can be in every part, right? Like open source is what? It is just like a working on something public, right? So working on public, building in public, a lot of things you would be learning, correct? So that way, you could also make a complete career out of it. What I mean here is, so if you are into open source, if you're an SDE, if you know CPDP, all those things, you can also contribute to the, okay, so you know a lot of languages at this point, right? So there are so many libraries that are happening, that are being created. As a DSA knowing person, you can create a new library as well. Where are those people who are saying DSA? How many libraries have you created? I'm not saying anything, but I say that I'm an open source contributor. I'm also a web developer, and talking about people's response and contributions from others, I'm happy to open this Hacktoberfest as well. So I created a nice, awesome web page. I put it in the open source side of things, and then there were hundreds of people who are coming and telling, okay, Praveen, this is something you can change this way, or this is something totally different, you should change this way. So those kind of cool feedback that I am receiving, based on that, I'm able to enhance my web development skills, which doesn't happen in the SDE roles. Obviously, SDE roles is not that bad. I'm not saying that way. You have got a lot of
No,
people
no,
who are seeing.
I'm not saying that you are saying SD as a bad, because in SD as well, means if I give my
A
example,
lot of
the
people
thing
are
is,
doing things.
yeah, they are doing open source as well, because in SD role as well, in company itself, the company is more into open source as well, because my company is into open source as well. So that's where they
The
have one
limitations will be there. So if you are an SDE, the limitations will be inside the SDE role that you would be doing. But open source has got, like, okay, being an SDE, can you uh, contribute to a design kind of a thing? Design in the sense the creative side of things I'm saying. But open source, like, you can also contribute to SVGs, fonts, graphics, right? So there is a big, so SDE is only a small part inside open source, that I would say, like that I would say. So comparatively, the opportunities are higher, something like that.
And actually, I'll say like in SDs also we do all these stuff. When we get into SD role, it's not only about algorithm and so on. It's about that SDs are having that powerful mind that yeah, they can solve any sort of problem which is there in front of them. And development is somehow a bit different, which we get to know when we get into SD roles. Because in SD roles also, when we are a full stack developer, in SDs only. There are full stack developers also, because we also do the work of full stack developer, back end developer, or front end developer. Every type of developer we are as an SD. So in that context, we are able to do any sort of work which is there. But that all things come as we get more and more experience into our work. But the way you were saying that about open source, you already know about all these things because you had hands-on beforehand only. So the thing is, development and DSA both are different. But the DSA is one of the part to get into that development when we are thinking about SDs. But when we
The
are going
problem
ahead
is
from
the problem is we are actually comparing a lot of things that are not supposed to be compared. You cannot
yeah,
compare DSA and web. You
them,
cannot
yeah,
compare SDE and open source because they are all like interlinked already. So it is
yeah,
not like you have to go in this path. You should not take in this path. Something like that. No, nothing like that. It is like everything is in the mix right now. So your SDE knowledge can be outsourced or open sourced. So either you can do it yourself, or you can make other people to do it as well, or you can also get feedback from the whole community how to make that better. So you are an SDE as well as an open source enthusiast. This is both. It is something like that. So that is the main thing I was trying to say. I guess whenever we talk like this, it is gonna get into confusion. So I'm here to clarify the confusion as well. So open source is just in a simple way. It is. I'll tell a story later, but to understand what open source is, all we are doing is we are trying to share our knowledge to other people, and we are also ready to take in the other people's knowledge. They might have got a different experience. Yes, you are a SDE at Google. I was a SDE in another company, and we both have been given the same problem. The way you will solve the problem is totally different from the way I will solve the problem. The way you have been working with DSA for so long, you have cracked all the lead code, CP, DP, all those pieces. But me, I have never touched DSA. I have never been inside those platforms. But given the same problem to both of us, we both will be able to complete it. Who knows? You might complete it faster, or I might complete it faster. It doesn't mean that DSA is always important, but the fun part is the approach that we take, that will differ. That's it. So that is something that we should accept. So that exactly is what open source kind of like does for us. Open source is just a way of doing things. It is not like it is one of the field or something like that. So how are you going to develop a software? You would be writing some code or something like that. It will be completely yourself. Like you are doing it in your computer. You're not sharing with anyone. It is a closed source product. But what happens if you try to put it to everyone? Like you go to Twitter. Back in those days, there was only Facebook, and literally everyone is in Facebook. And then what you're saying is, hey friends, I'm just creating this particular piece of software. This will do all these things. Here's a source code to download. And if you have any suggestions or advices, you can also send me an email. Here's my email address. This is the initial start of an open source journey for a SDE. So instead, what you can do now is you can put all these whole development thing inside GitHub or something similar platform where you can publish the source code. At the same time, you can get the community's feedback, approval, every single thing, right? So, and not only that, you will also be sharing your knowledge to others. So this is what you would be doing as an SDE inside open source. Any questions in this? Accepted.
but one thing is that, like, when we as an SD do open source, then that particular thing, if that open source is as per the means as per that company only, then it would be like not distributed much publicly. Means somehow some you can
When
say
it is
some.
not distributed publicly, it is not open source. It has to be public, has to be accessible to any Tom, Dick, and Harry in the whole world, anywhere they are.
Okay.
Only then it
Yeah.
is open source. So if you're saying that, yeah, I created the software inside this company, I work at this company, let's say Intel or something, and then I made this small chip or something like that, and I gave the source code out to all the Intel employees. No, that is not open source.
No,
You have to give the
not
source
about
code to
that.
everyone.
It's about like distributed among some companies only. Like
Exactly. That is what I'm saying. Distributed should be it should be for everyone. It should be in the public domain, not privately to a certain entities. That is exactly what I'm trying to say. When it is an open source entity, it is in the public domain.
Okay. Yeah, that I got. Because few companies from my company as well, and from some other companies, I don't know, I should name or not, because companies shouldn't be named. So that's why they all have those open source projects, which in which other company people can also be involved. But when we need to integrate that particular open source code as well to our company code, then some security things are there which are required to be passed. So
In simple terms, you are not going to take the intellectual property of a company and then release it outside. That is a
yeah,
grave criminal offense.
yeah,
So you are not doing that. But when you are doing something really cool, you made, like, let's say, Intel's latest chip or something like that. I'm specifically telling about Intel and chips because it is not related to what I am doing or what you are doing. That is the main reason. So that even if this video goes outside telling, hey, Praveen asked you to leak out all the source code, and nothing will happen.
yeah.
That's why. Okay. So let's say Intel has got this superb master plan of this i11 chips. Okay, and they have the knowledge that they uh, acquired by experience by creating this chip. So using this knowledge, they are not going to leak out anything which is specific to the i11 chip, but instead they can build something for the public. Okay, folks, I know that this i11 chip I have developed, that also they will not say. I have been getting so much experience in these days. I want to share my knowledge outside by creating something new from the scratch. So as a person, as a single individual, not relating to any company, I know how to drive a cycle. So I can teach other person how to drive a cycle, right? It doesn't cause any conflicts with my company. So that's exactly what you should be doing if you want to use the open source along with what you are good at. So you're good at building something in your company. You don't need to steal any of the time or any of their intellectual
Process.
property, but
Yeah,
your experience is yours. That is valuable. So what you can do is you can use that experience to, like, build something new from the scratch, not related to company. The company will be appreciating you. Oh wow, you are taking some nice experience and you're also empowering others. So the company has got a corporate social responsibility that they will say, okay, this is correct and this is great.
yeah, got it. Yeah, being into company and then going ahead with open source, then yeah, it is, in actual, it is appreciable by company as well. That is the point.
Even the company might also say that, why don't you put our company name as well? No problem. It's going to be a free publicity for a lot of people. Just
Yeah,
look at one project, core.js. That core.js project has been used by millions of people, or jQuery or React. If while installing React, if you put a small ad, hey, this guy React's founder Dan Abramov is actually looking for new jobs. If you have a job, please send an email. That's it. Millions of people will be getting that message, right? You can actually use it as an ad platform, but don't do that. But that's
yeah,
actually just one of the ideas. I hope Elon
okay,
Musk doesn't hear me.
okay, yeah. Next thing would be that. Okay. What open source gives to me? So that you can tell.
Okay, that's actually a good question. So first thing is, obviously, I said learning experience. See, one thing that you would be doing always is when you go into a company, you would be working as a part of a team, and thanks to pandemic, you would be part of a distributed team. So there will be one
Okay.
person sitting in Bangalore, one person sitting in Delhi, one person sitting in Chennai, and one person sitting in London, me. So working as a part of a distributed team, you would be getting that experience in open source itself. So when you're working with these kind of things, you would be getting this flow, right? So and you also, like, let's say we were talking about React.js, correct? What if large open source projects are always done by large team only? Sometimes the people in those teams even work for all the large organization. For example, there are people who work for GitLab, React, Facebook. Becoming a contributor in those kind of things will get a chance to work with those talented people without even getting hired by these people. Now, lot of firing is also happening. This is a good way to work along with it, right? You will also sharpen your written communication skills, understand how to pick and negotiate things to work on, because that is something very important when you are selling yourself as a like for
Develop.
hiring yourself, right? So something like that. You can also perfect your Git flow, GitLab flow, GitHub flow, and there are so many other valuable things that you can understand as a language syntax as well. So there are generally, when I interview people, I would be looking at a lot of more things in the quirks of the language. So learn that you can learn here. There is also other one. You can also work in a complex and large application. Whenever you go into a company, most probably you would be working with an existing application, right? You won't be creating something new. And probably it would be like 100 years ago they created that application. It will be large, it would be complex, it would be used by at least hundreds and thousands of people. And as if you are a coding student, you rarely have a chance to even go through those kind of things. But if you go to an open source project and start working on it, you already have the exact scenario, which gives you an already existing experience. Now most of the companies are asking experience for the freshers. This would be a good idea, right? So what would you do here? You would first understand the code that is already written. You would be refactoring the existing code to correct the typos, bug fixes, etc. And this is what you would be doing in the real job as well. And you will understand the pieces of code, piece of the large application one by one. And finally, you would also understand how it was architected in the first place, and where the code's functionality, each and every functionality lives as well. So these are a couple of things that you could experience working on small learning projects, but you need these kind of experience if you want to land a job. So this is one of the main reasons, right? You want a job, and this alone should be enough for getting a job. That is what I feel.
But which you told that you will be checking for small pieces of code and so on. But before checking that small pieces of code, we will be already reading that architecture, right? Means whatever the architecture is being
You will
designed
be
in the
understanding
HLD.
the architecture by reading the code. So you won't be getting that architecture by blueprint or by hand. You would read that small pieces of code and try to analyze, okay, this is how the whole architecture has been created. That's how you would do it.
Yeah, those small modules we will be checking and then going ahead with sim. That I got your point. Um, okay, but
So you
still,
have to
when
start
the
small.
project is so large, then surely we do some small pieces of code, which are then integrated into the same. Else we solve some defects, which give us
Yeah,
the idea that what exactly that particular flow is all about. But these
exactly.
defect solving and so on, these things we also do in open source as well. When we raise an issue there, so that is already a defect only, right? Means which
Yes,
we solve
exactly.
to learn about
So they are
that
same.
particular open source project.
That is what I'm trying to say. So whatever you are going to do in your next job, you would be doing it already in public. So when you are doing all these things in public, you would be getting a lot of good feedback and bad feedback as well. So if you take the good feedback, you will get motivated. If you understand what the bad feedback says, your communication skills, your skills will get improved. Okay, you should not use this particular code. So it has to be fixed before it gets merged or something like that. So if can you just imagine getting this kind of a direct feedback from a huge developer in Facebook who is actually working at Facebook, and they will also come to know about you, right? The next thing is the online reputation. You would be building a perfect online reputation. Nowadays people are saying like GitHub is the living resume of yourself.
Yeah.
So in simple terms, let me say one. I have been hiring people for the past 6 years. I've been recruiting, like I've been interviewing people. More than interviews, if I'm able to see their GitHub contributions, um, instead of that half an hour talking to you, I would have a look at, okay, what are the things that you have contributed so far? Oh, wow, you have done this. You have even contributed to this thing. So if you know this thing, wow, this is the kind of person I need to hire in my team,
And the
right?
thing is,
So
hmm,
that's how your online reputation gets big.
okay, got it. The things which you are saying that you will get the feedback that this particular line of code is not good to be into our code base or something like that. These all those feedbacks which will be there.
It doesn't match the quality standards. That is one thing. So you'll understand how to write a quality code. Second thing, you wrote this kind of a code. It is not that performing. Come DS and I'll go. No, people will gang up.
No,
Okay,
no,
so
that's all. Mm.
this is this is not that performing code. Maybe you can write something like this. So you will learn a new way of writing code as well. So instead of using this for loop, use a map. That's it. That is far better, right? So your code quality improves that way.
Use a map. That we already get to know through DSC only.
Exactly. See, I did not do DSA. I did a lot of open source. So basically, even I know DSA without learning DSA in the proper way, but I have learned in the right practical way by contributing to the projects. I've contributed to a large number of public set of projects, and those projects, they have got very strict guidelines, strict code guidelines. If they are able to accept my code, all these companies can easily accept my code. Correct?
Okay, but in actual, what my question was that when we are contributing towards the open source, right? So the point which you were saying that you will get a review comment about this particular thing that this
Yeah.
can't be into the this particular or not. But the
They
thing
will
is
also
that
give
there
you the
are a lot
suggestion.
of there are a lot of pull requests. So because of the number is so high of that pull request, so it takes a lot of time to the moderator as well to get that particular means get the feedback for that particular pull request.
Correct.
So in that context, don't you think that contributing to open source then it becomes like you should have a lot of patience because there are a lot of pull requests before that
Okay, I
only
can tell
which
this.
are
I
required to be
worked with
merged.
two banks. I worked with two banks. One of
Okay.
the bank is top three bank in the UK, and one other is, most of them know, I worked with JPMC. So in both these places, when I need to get my approval, I have to wait. That is a closed group of team. I had to wait 3 days for my approval for someone to review my code. So think about that. If it takes for just 10 people team, a closed set of team, I'm here, I'm sitting and coding. Here's my reviewer. It takes 3 days for him to come and look at my code. The code will be like 2 lines code. That's it. So if that itself takes 3 days, think about codes like Facebook, React, etc. It takes ages. You have to be patient. One of my pull requests,
How how a
actually
person
this
could
was one.
how a
You
person
will
could
be developing your patience as well in this one.
that couldn't be developed, you know.
And
Like
one
for
more thing,
ages.
I'll tell you one more thing. This is a fun fact, which is a real true fact. So I believe a lot of people know about the country I am living in, UK. UK had a new PM who was a British PM. Now there is an Indian PM, like Indian origin PM. He is also a British PM only.
Yeah,
So this PM, before this Indian origin PM, she was there only for 40 days. One of
yeah.
them tweeted, it was during the Hacktoberfest time I contributed to one of the repository. The review time was longer than the time served by the PM. So
Okay.
this person created a pull request and was waiting for the approval. Next day, this lady became the PM of UK. After some days or months, this lady is checked out of the PM. So she finished her tenure. This guy is still waiting for the PR to get accepted. So these kind of things happen in open source. You have to be
Okay.
patient.
Okay. But then what is alternate for the same? Then
There
we
is no
should
alternative.
contribute to a lot of repositories.
Either you can contribute to other repository. Don't be idle. So you have done your contribution. You just need to wait for the other person to respond. Let them respond. You will be getting a notification anyway. Until then, you can start working on other things. You don't need to be concerned about that. You don't need to hold on to it forever. So just wait, just do it and wait for the next thing. So start going with the other one.
Why are you also asking people to come into open source?
Okay, this is one of the main reasons. Like, people can learn something really in practical way. Now in the offices we use something called as agile methodology, and Git flow. These two things are very much easily made understandable using open source. And when you're working with a project in Git and GitHub, all these things are taken care of. So you would be understanding exactly how I would be working in a big multinational corporation, a bank, or a financial institute in a top paying job. So what I do, you guys are doing for free outside. So that is a free knowledge that you would be getting. So that's the main reason I would request everyone to come into it and then just try it out. There are also a lot of goodies to earn. Like for example, there are so many programs that happens. They all give free goodies. And who says no for this one?
Stickers.
So many stickers.
In actual, the thing is like, because I'm also working professional, you are also working professional. So whatever you were saying, that I can completely relate that all these things I'm already doing in my company. So that's why I was thinking,
So
there is a lot of conflict in our conversation. Like we can directly go ahead with doing DSA only. We don't want to, we don't need to go into open source.
okay,
But yeah,
let me
about
ask you one more thing.
experience part, which you were saying, that before joining a company, you already get that experience,
Exactly.
and that
Not
helps you scale up your performance in company. So
to be
that's the
honest, there
thing.
are so many people who are not getting into company because they don't have an experience. And these people are asking, how do I get an experience when no one is ready to give me a job? So you need an experience, but no companies are giving you a job. Go with open source, try to do the same work outside the company, get noticed by others, by people like me and others, and then come and say, I have done all these things, what you would be doing. I have got a good experience myself. I'm confident. Get me a job, give me a job. They will definitely say no. They will definitely not say no.
Yeah, they will definitely say not say no. That's the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
completely agree to
what
your
is the
point.
main reason? Why do they even say no if they know that you would be a right person, you know all these principles, and you don't need extra mentoring or
Hmm.
extra training on these things? See, that's one of the benefits. And networking, obviously, you would be able to meet a lot of professionals from Facebook and Google. Maybe you can slightly say one time, hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you have any vacancies in your team? Because you know how I work. See, the person
Exactly.
knows how this person works. You know completely about my working style. If you're okay with it, just refer me, give me a good reference. That's it. You get a new job as well. So there are like so many advantages. These are the things that I wanted to say.
Like, now I'm like, I can relate.
Yeah. Cool. So these are a couple of things which I wanted to say. And to end with a good note, like it's not like don't avoid anything to come into open source. Just that have this as a side hustle, which actually helps you out in your main primary job as well.
Yeah, the way
That
I'm
is
doing.
what I am trying
I
to say.
also contribute because this year only I participated in that outreach.
Nice. And how was it?
Yeah, it was really amazing because the thing which you were saying means I got feedback from those mentors as well. And yeah, I got to know a lot of things about Linux because I was really nowhere in Linux. And that project contribution taught me a lot about Linux and
And remember,
yeah,
and remember, they all know you now. So if you go
yeah,
there and talk to people, see, look at that, how much impact you have done for yourself. That's the main
yeah,
thing.
yeah. They are people from all across the world and even from some other
Mhm.
companies as well. One was from Intel who was already contributed to that particular pull request. So I got directly contact with him and some other company. I
Nice.
guess one was from Facebook as well. So it's like, yeah, I got to know, reach out to a lot of people. That is the thing.
Good, good, good. Awesome. Super,
So,
dude. Okay.
hmm,
That
any
was nice.
ending lines you had? Yeah, you already do it.
Any ending
Now this
lines?
was,
These are the things I have was saying, and yeah, I'm happy. It was a nice discussion we had, although we had
yeah,
some dishum, but
exactly.
all those conflicts are now resolved. Cool. Thank you so much for having me in your show, And let's wait for the final one with the huge story.
Yeah. Okay. Then this was all for today's session. So yeah, thank you, Praveen.